Faithful to him, it's not just a team, it's family.
I appreciate everyone in here.
Love you guys.
Yes, sir!
Here's the head coach of your 49ers, Kyle Shanahan.
We got a chance to do something this year, man.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Every week with 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan. Kyle is sponsored by Ayala, Morgan, and Bazard. When you've been injured in an auto accident, you don't just need an attorney, you need a heavy hitter. Contact Ayala, Morgan, and Bazard. And by Friedman's Appliance, proudly serving all of Northern California with a wide selection of luxury appliances. Visit them in Pleasant Hill to see the Friedman's difference. Kyle Shanahan joins us on the Uma Guest. What's going on, Coach? How you doing, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
We're doing well, man. So how was practice today? I mean, last week of practice here, we're just under a week from cutdown day into the final week of preseason. How are things going for you?
It was a good day. We just got in. You know, it's nice. You know, traveling to Vegas last week, we had to split our practices up, but we always love when we can get 3 days in a row of practice. You know, we don't do that. I mean, we get 3 in a row during the season, but the third day is always a walkthrough. So we really try to stack those 3-day blocks up, and today was our second day, which is our hardest day. We'll take a little bit off tomorrow, rest a day, and then get ready for our last game.
What's going on, Kyle? Good to talk to you again this season. I saw that Jacob Cowan did not practice today. Is that still the lingering hamstring injury that he suffered a couple weeks ago?
Yes, it is. You know, he felt it yesterday, so we had to hold him back today.
In terms of the injuries, I know fans, we hear about it all the time. I don't know how much of that noise gets to you, but fans, it seems like day after day we're dealing with injuries and things crop up. Does it feel that way for you? Is it one thing after another, or is it easy to keep your head down and just keep plugging through with the number of guys you've had to bring in this season?
No, it's pretty tough. I mean, I promise you guys, if it's a challenge for the fans, I promise you guys it's a bigger challenge for me just dealing with all this. But, you know, we haven't had the best luck this year, down probably more guys than we've had. It's a tough situation. You got to keep practicing because we got to improve. We got to be ready for the season. We got to continue to get better for the season. But it does make that a huge challenge with the number of guys we've had down.
Obviously, you're going to see when Brandon Ayuk comes back, and hopefully that's week 6. You know, Juwan Jennings is dealing with a calf injury, and you have DeMarcus Robinson possibly facing suspension. But when this receiving core is 100%, I know Debo left in the offseason, but do you see this receiving core being one of the best you've had in recent years?
I mean, we're far away from that right now. I mean, we got to get all those guys that you mentioned back, and BA is coming off a bad injury that I know he'll be good. We don't know when that will be. Juwan, obviously, we haven't had throughout camp with his calf injury. D-Rob, we're not going to have it out the first 3 weeks. Cowan, we've had for 2 practices with his hamstring problems, and Ricky's having a hell of a camp. Got a little late start, but he's had a really good last 3 weeks he's put together. So, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as I hope we can get these guys back and how we're going to deal with it in the meantime.
Talking to 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan, we do it every week right here on the Sports Leader. So in terms of what you saw from Ricky Pearsall and Brock Purdy on that opening drive, I mean, there was the 3rd and 18 they picked up last week against the Raiders, a 21-yard gain. 3 of those catches, 3 of the completions that Brock had on that opening drive went to Ricky. What'd you see from them? What'd you think about that first unit offense that was out there?
Well, I thought they carried over what they've been doing in practice to that first drive. You know, I think Brock and Ricky have been connecting a lot. I think Brock's got a real good rhythm going with him. I think he's had a good one going with D-Rob. I mean, those have been our 2 most consistent guys who've been there pretty much every day throughout camp, minus Ricky that first week. So when that happens, you only get better. They're really in rhythm right now, and hopefully that can continue to week 1.
Just to follow up on Robinson, you said you wouldn't have him for the first 3 weeks. Is that a confirmed suspension now? It'll be 3 weeks to start the year?
Yes. I mean, you can always appeal it. So we'll hope for the best on that, but that's what we're planning for.
Speaking of Brock, I mean, he played that first drive and a lot of quick passes. But as far as what you wanted to see from him, is it a mixed bag where you want him obviously to play well, but without Trent Williams out there, you have to scheme it up to make sure he gets out of harm's way?
We didn't scheme it up any different. I mean, we had Trent for half the season last year, so you got to be able to play and make sure that our third tackle is ready to go. I thought Spence did a good job in there. I thought he protected him well. We had a couple quick games, but you look at that third and I think it was 3rd and 17 or whatever it is. That's a 7-step drop and going against their ones. And I thought the guys gave him a real good pocket and allowed them to sit in there and deliver. So you always want the quarterback to get work. You want everyone out there to get work, but it's really not something that I enjoy. It's something you're hoping they get work, but all you're trying to do is make sure, most important, you get them out of there before they get injured, and that's probably why you guys have most likely seen the last of him until week 1.
Yeah, number of injuries that the team is dealing with. I saw today you guys waived Corey Kiner. Now, if he clears waivers, he could come back and land on IR as early as Thursday. I mean, he looked really good, I thought, for the first couple of games, had a 19-yard run last week on the play that he got hurt on. How is the backfield shaping up in terms of the depth chart in your mind right now? Jordan James, I know, still dealing with the finger, but Garendo back. How is that looking in your mind right now?
Well, it was nice to get Grindo back. Him separating his shoulder in the first week of camp, so that took him a few weeks. But yeah, he came back yesterday, and he's had 2 good practices. So hopefully we can continue that going for week 1. Jordan James is a guy we got high expectations for, and really excited to work with him. I think he's made of the right stuff. We loved how he looked in college. We loved how he was in OTAs, but we've only got him for 2 days out here in camp. So we're hoping that finger heals up and he can get healthy fast. I don't think it'll go far into the season. Hopefully we'll have him week 1, but we're still waiting for him to get back. And it was also it was hard losing Patrick Taylor last weekend. We thought he separated his shoulder, but when we got x-rays, he ended up breaking it. So he's having to get surgery, and we won't have him this year.
Jake Moody, I mean, he dealt with a lot of injuries a season ago and missed some kicks, but I think that explains why he missed those. And, obviously you guys have confidence in him as he's the only kicker on the roster right now, but when he makes a 59-yard field goal in preseason or not, that has to instill confidence in him and you guys as well going into the season.
Yeah, I thought that really couldn't have been a better scenario for Jake. Missing that 153-yarder, which, him ending the way he did last year, that puts pressure on anybody. And just because he's the only kicker in here, I mean, whether that really doesn't really matter. Not everyone has 2 kickers. If you miss a bunch of kicks, eventually people have to move on. But that's something we don't want to do with Jake. He has a lot of ability, a lot of talent. He's made of the right stuff. I thought he's kicked very well here at a high level. But when he came back from that high ankle sprain, it affected him. And I think that's for some pretty obvious reasons. But he missed some kicks last year that were big. And then to go into that game and miss that 53-yarder, it, puts the pressure on you. And it's not like 53-yarders are automatic. But when you end the way you did last year, all eyes are looking, and you don't have as much leeway. And then to have to go out there 4 more times after that, or whatever it was, and to go 5 of 6, and then to hit a 59-yarder to win. Well, first of all, hitting the one before that I thought was a big kick because it was to tie it up, and it looked like we were going to at least tie the game with that. But then we got Mahoney's turnover. I would have loved to get some yards for him, but we didn't get any on the return. Then we dropped a pass on the next down, so he had to kick a 50-yarder. And I've never been on a team that's made a 50-yarder. So that was really cool for me to see, or to be on a team where a kicker could have the ability to do that. And for Jake to come through and hit that and really win that game for us, I mean, you could see how pumped our whole team was for him. And I think that was a really big moment for him that can really help him out mentally, because he's had the ability and he's had a real good career here, minus those 7 games or whatever it was last year.
Talking to 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan. We do it every week right here on The Sports Leader. You mentioned the Mahoney interception. He had a great play there. Chase Lucas had a great game. He's had a really good preseason, it seems like, to this point, and it's kind of been one of the standouts. When you're looking at young guys like that, or guys who are looking to make a team or try to make a splash in sprint or in preseason, are you looking for guys who go out and make big plays, or is it more about just doing your job? Like, is it okay, or do you like a guy who's going to take a risk or put something on tape, or is it more about just don't make a mistake in terms of trying to make the team?
No, I mean, you want to put the best 53 guys in your team that are going to help you win. And then there's so many ways to help someone win. I mean, you can be the most talented guy out there who makes big plays. You can be the guy who just consistently does his job. You can be the best available at the moment. There's so many different ways that go into that, and preseason is a huge deal. But and Chase has had a hell of a camp. He's had a hell of a preseason. But you don't always just go off big plays. Some guys can make a couple big plays, but they kind of just fall into it, and they've been so bad in practice, and the rest of the film on the tape isn't very good. But you're going to be doing the interviews. You're going to be getting in a lot of pub and stuff because of a couple big plays, but the film doesn't always match. Chase has been different. I'm not saying Chase has been that way, because I think Chase has had a really good camp, really good preseason. But there's so many different variables that go into it. I mean, sometimes a quarterback will get into a preseason game, light up the fourth quarter 3 weeks in a row, and no one can figure out why you're not going with them. And it's, well, most of those guys he's going against aren't going to be in the NFL in about 10 days. And that's why you got to go so much off of practice also. But if they only do it in practice and then they melt in the games, sometimes you realize they get a little nervous under the big lights, or it's a little different when they're going against different competition. And so you got to take all that into account.
You told us a couple weeks ago that Clay Kubiak would be calling plays in the preseason. What have you made of his play calling so far?
I thought he's done a real good job. He did it last year also. Clay helps me out throughout the year. He did it the last game of the year fully, week 17 versus Arizona. So, been with Clay for a while. Trust him as much as I've trusted anybody I've ever worked with. And Clay's helps me out a ton. And when I'm not in a position to do it, I don't hesitate for him to do it.
Talking to 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan. Nice enough to join us on the Uma guest line. Hey, I was watching that quarterback show on Netflix that they have, and obviously you were part of the team that drafted Kirk Cousins in Washington when he was a rookie. He shouts you out. I don't know if you knew that in one of those episodes. He's talking about the computation notebooks that you used to use. He says, I use the same notebook that Kyle Shanahan used. Have you noticed that with yourself? Obviously you've had so much success in your play calling and your preparation. Have other guys latched on or leached off of what it is that you do in terms of quarterback memorization, stuff like that? Because he's still using his notebooks in the same way that I guess you taught him when he was a rookie.
That's funny. I haven't seen that yet. I'm not sure. I'm not other places, so I don't know what coaches take and they do what they take with them. But every coach I've ever worked with, I take stuff from them, and stuff I like, I use it throughout my career, and stuff you don't, you move on and find better ways to do it. But that's the whole point of having experience and being in a lot of different buildings. The different people you can work with, it's not always good, but you can always get experience and learn different stuff from people. And it's funny, he talks about that notebook. I have about 300 of those probably. They fill up our garages. They make every move. My wife always asks me if she can throw them away. I tell her no. I'm going to go back and review those someday. I never do. So she gets very mad at me, and that's about why 4 years ago I just officially moved to an iPad, so I don't have to go pack them all the time, and I can easily just get back to them and have a little bit better of a search engine on finding notes that I made instead of going through my basement and garage trying to find one little sentence on 300 different notebooks.
Well, it's funny you mention that because that's kind of what Kirk is talking about. He's getting ready for it was last season, a game against the Bucks and Todd Bowles, and he's like, well, I'm going to go back and look at some of my notebooks of when I faced him and prepared in the past. How relevant is that stuff game to game, season to season? Obviously last year, if you're looking at a D coordinator or something you've gone against before, it might be, same personnel, but stuff changes so much and teams change so much, and maybe he's in a different place with a different group of players and a different bit of personnel. How relevant is last year to the year before to 3 years ago? Can you go back 5 years and find stuff that's useful, or is it season to season?
That's why I don't do I make tons of notes and use my iPad, but that's kind of why I eventually moved on, because when everything's on film, film tells such a story. And when you know a coordinator and you've gone against them so much, you know what they're based out of. And I can go read my notes from forever ago, or I can just go off of what I remember, and then you turn on the tape, and the tape is the story of everything. All my notes are written down from watching tape. So when you have a feel for somebody, you turn on the tape, and it comes right back, and you're like, oh, this is the same. He hasn't changed. Oh, wait a second. I haven't seen him do this. This is totally different. Why is he doing this? All right, he's evolved, or no, he's doing it because of this player. He's doing it because I haven't played him in 4 years, and everyone in the league is doing this right now. So there's so many things that go into it, but with me, I just turn on the tape, and to me, everything kind of comes back, because you got to watch, when you watch a play and you watch a front or a coverage or something, to me, it's the same as reading your notes. It brings your memory back to that point, and you have a lot of stuff stacked up in there. But sometimes when I read stuff and there's not a film to go with it, I can memorize what I read, but I want it in there, and that's usually based off of taking it through what you see with your eyes and really storing it in there the right way so you can use it in a game.
Couple more minutes with head coach of the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, on the Uma guest line. So once Saturday's done with, what is the process with you and John once you get this team down to the best 53 men?
It's very similar to what we've been doing already. We're always trying to go over the 53, going over the practice squad, who's going to be available for week one based off injuries, how to set all that stuff up. So that's stuff we're discussing. We can't go more than 1 day without talking about that stuff right now. And then we got to get through this week. And everything you talk about, though, might be completely different next week. You never know who's going to get hurt. You never know what's going to happen. And we got one more practice here tomorrow. We got one more preseason game on Saturday. And then Sunday and Monday, we'll be having the exact same conversations we've been having throughout training camp. It's just a little bit easier because we don't have a game. We don't have practice. I'll be very surprised if anyone gets hurt on Sunday or Monday. If they do, we have really bad luck.
I'm with you. I hear you. Not something you want to deal with. That being said, should we expect to see any starters on Saturday?
you might see a couple. We got to see how it pans out tomorrow with practice, but I'd be surprised if you guys saw too many out there.
Sounds good. Kyle Shanahan, the head coach of the 49ers. Hey, it's a big gap off. I mean, you get that 2-week break now. It's like a full 2 weeks from the end of the preseason to the start of the regular season. Enjoy the time. Good luck with the cutdowns, and we'll talk to you soon, Kyle.
All right, guys. Good talking to you. Talk to you guys next week.